really truly love we really truly love serving people, and our commitment extends beyond our typical jobs in our clinics, right? So we dedicate ourselves to improving the health and quality of life for those we serve, seeing our work as a true calling. This commitment often involves long hours and a significant emotional investment, as does most real estate deals. Despite these demands, it's crucial to also focus on self-care. Maintaining our physical and mental well-being is essential to performing our best, not only in the healthcare arena, but outside of it. Additionally, careful management of our finances is important. A stable financial situation allows us to work without added stress, enabling us to provide the best care possible. Addressing our own health and financial well-being is a key to our ability to serve others effectively, both in and out of our professional lives.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, so let me talk about me, something I really don't like talking about, but let's roll with this. I've been a physical therapist for over 20 years, actually probably like 22. I've been doing real estate probably full time for 15 years. Yes, I don't have a formal title of doing real estate full time, but honestly, I probably spend as much time on it, if not more, than I do on my actual job. Not that I am neglecting patients, but you just have to be ruthlessly efficient with your time when you're obviously treating patients in the healthcare arena and obviously doing real estate also. I love helping people. I love improving people's health when they're, of course, willing to listen. I know Alex and I have shared frustrations with that, with patients that sometimes don't necessarily adhere to the plan. Same thing in real estate. Um, I've been married to my wife, Michelle, for 15 years. She is a financial advisor for 25 years. I have two kids. I love coaching all my kids' sports teams, although I'm actually taking a break for the first time in 8 years. And it's a little weird because now I have a bunch of free time that I am definitely filling, but just a little bit of a transition. And I love just doing real estate deals, connecting with people, and just helping people out whenever we can.
Alex Tam here. And for me, I'm a chiropractor. That's the background, and been in practice for the last 15 years now. Ultimately, helping people getting off medication and avoid unnecessary surgery. That is really the key thing. About 7 years ago, I started investing in real estate as a limited partner. And about 3.5 years ago, started doing education on how to actively participate in real estate. And on this call here, I've met some of the finest people in real estate that that I know. So I'm super, super excited. The reason why Eric and I do this is to share what we have done with other people and other healthcare professionals, knowing that the healthcare profession, we're taught to just learn how to take care of people, but not learn how to take care of finances. So, how this call usually goes is we will educate for about 25 to 35 minutes. And then it's kind of a really good get together to talk about some of the experiences, what people have gone through, maybe some of the challenges that they're going through today. And today we have a special guest, Justin, the cash flow cowboy over here.
Cash flow
So,
cowboy in the house.
yes,
Let's
yes.
go.
So, in our field of managing a clinic, it requires medical knowledge, like Eric has talked about. But I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we need to talk about how to maximize returns for everything that we're earning as well, and really being proactive. So today is about finding deals. We talk about a different topic every single week. And a lot of people are like, well, where are the deals even coming from besides just the MLS, right? So, where do you find a deal and how do you know if it's a good one? Eric, take us away.
Yeah, so as we all know, or most of us know on this call, right? There's multiple sources to finding deals. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no good or bad. The point is that you find a deal and that you can execute on the deal and take that deal to close, right? So one of our favorite ways to find deals, which obviously leads into our guest speaker today, is off-market sources. I mean, those are really fantastic ways to find deals. Right before we got on formally, again, Connor and Mike were talking about an off-market deal. That's really direct to owner broker relationships. You can network with other wholesalers or investors, Driving for dollars is another way to find deals. I found deals way back when I did single family flips, driving for dollars. It's a great way to not only be active, but to obviously approach the owner. Because really, the whole point is you want to find out who owns the building that you're going to, right? Or that you want to purchase or potentially want to purchase. You want to have a conversation with them and you want to develop a relationship with them. And hopefully, it's a great relationship so that when they are ready to sell, if they're not ready to sell at the time, then they can keep you top of mind. Partnering with syndicators, I think we've all done partnerships with syndicators. Most of us are LPs or GPs in various deals with various operators. That's a fantastic way to find off-market deals as well. Direct to seller leads, which again leads right into Justin in a few minutes, is that's the way that honestly, if you are good on the phone and you really can develop great relationships with people and a solid base with the owner, direct to seller leads can be very lucrative for people. I think it's actually a very good source because it cuts out the middleman. And when I say middleman, I mean, like we were talking about before this presentation started, it's the broker. Sometimes they're very, very good, and sometimes they can be a hindrance to getting the deal accomplished. Mortgage brokers and lenders, and I'll even say sometimes title companies can know of deals, or hey, I know this investor that does this, you might want to connect with them. That can also be a fantastic source of off-market deals. On-market sources, I mean, I think that we're all familiar with the various on-market sources. There's certainly the MLS, there's LoopNet, there's Crexi, there's CoStar. I think CoStar, out of all of those sources, actually provides more of a pared down list because it's focused on obviously more commercial. It's only focused on commercial. So that to me would be the most relevant source of finding leads, or at least good leads that could be worth exploring. But both are a good combination. If you can really master finding both and having think of it as like a tree with the different branches that are feeding you leads and deals, that's really where you want to go.
Well, broker relationships is huge. You can't underestimate what the power of having and working with brokers. What I've realized is over time, the bigger deals, a lot of people, you're not going to sell a 100 unit, 200 unit, usually just direct to seller. Those are usually through some form of broker, right? So when you develop a relationship with a broker, and it's just like developing a relationship with any other partner, you have to think about where you are providing. Really, it's where are you providing value, right? If the broker is giving you a deal, like why would he give you a deal versus anyone else? And at the beginning, it could be hard. It could be hard. That's why at the beginning, if you're making relationships with the broker, it is best to partner up. And this is why this community is so important, to partner up with people who have done this before and leverage, right, your partnership. Leverage what they've done, leverage the information, whether in our group, it's using Marco's name or Dar's name. I remember when I was in Jake and Gino, we could use Jake and Gino as advisors, right? To say, hey, these are the people that we've been partnering with. And well, that's why we are credible as well. Now, brokers can provide pocket listing deals. They can refer from professionals, the deal flow as a buyer or seller. I mean, if you have a great broker who is going to work with you, and you're good to them as well, and not try to cut them out of the deal. A lot of times we feel like, oh, you know what? After working with the first deal, I'll just go and direct to these owners and then cut the broker out of the deal. But then what happens now is you've just taken that broker relationship out of the picture. And if you are still working with the same MSA metro area, the brokers within each other are going to talk to each other, right? They're going to be like, you know what? Don't work with this dude because after the first deal, he's going to cut you out, right? And now the brokers are less likely to work with you. So ultimately, it's about relationships. And just like you would develop any relationships, maybe when a deal closes, find out what the broker likes, right? Send them a mob globe or something, and then kind of go from there.
So another thing that I think, sometimes it's pretty obvious, but we don't even think about it because, we're always doing it, when we're trying to find off-market deals is networking. I mean, networking is so key. That's really what we're doing here today, right? We're networking as a community, as a family to try to obviously get more deals done and to try to help each other out. And that's really what the whole thing is about networking, is about the relationships, right? How can you provide value to the relationships that you're forming when you are networking? Hey, I have a deal. Hey, I have capital. Hey, I know a broker who has this. Hey, I know somebody who might be selling in 3 to 6 months. Alex and I know many of you also believe that it's crucial, and that's how your success is built, is the strong relationships that you can form. Sometimes in a deal, you don't always have capital. So what value can you provide, right? Sometimes you have capital and then you're not maybe doing anything else in the deal except, maybe some marketing, some investor relations, some, whatever the case is. Always find your value add, because that's really what networking is all about. Hey, you have this, I have this, we have complementary skills. How can we work together? So really, the cliche is your network is your net worth, right? We've all heard that. I still think it's probably one of the smartest things that anybody's ever said. I'm not even sure who originally said it, but I think that it's a very, very smart statement to make, because who you surround yourself with is how you are judged ultimately. Bottom line, you know, and honestly, it's very, as I've gotten, older and wiser in the real estate community, you can clearly see who you want to align yourself with and who you don't. And it's not necessarily good or bad. It is just a choice of what your values and goals are versus somebody else's. Um, so it's really important to take the time to develop those relationships, right? It's not necessarily going on Facebook and, you know, forming a relationship with somebody and then a week
Don't
later,
just press like,
you're right.
engage a little bit.
Right. And then forming and then giving them money a week later. If you're good with that, that's fine. Like, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that we would necessarily advise to do that. I mean, many people form relationships for 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years before they even enter into doing something together, because there's that comfort, there's the familiarity, there's that trust. That's really what it boils down to. So honestly, you never stop networking in this field. It is 7 days a week. You're always networking, and it's great. Honestly, I enjoy the heck out of it, to be perfectly honest. I think it's pretty easy, and I enjoy the heck out of doing it.
You're right, Eric. At the beginning, when I first got into real estate actively, I didn't know how I can add value. I
Yep.
was like, dude, I have a chiropractic office. I don't know anything about real estate. How can
Right.
I add value? Right? I didn't know what the roles even were. I remember initially someone told me, "Oh yeah, there's asset managers." I said, what in the world is an asset manager? Oh, you manage the property manager. And I was like, "What?" I had zero idea. And then eventually people found out that I was a chiropractor and they started asking me about health questions. Like there's times where I go to real estate conferences and then people ask me about their health. I was like, okay, maybe I'll provide value this way. And it's funny, the other way happens. When I go to health conferences, they ask me about real estate. So it's all about
Definitely.
where
I
you can
mean,
provide a
you
lot
have
of
to put
value.
on multiple hats, right? Like, you can provide value in so many different ways. But a lot of people, not that it's fear that stops them, right? But it's like, oh gosh, like, who really wants to hear my opinion on this? Get over that. It's okay. Like, you can provide value just as much as anybody else can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, driving for dollars, right? This is where you literally you get into your car, right? And you target areas that you're interested in owning either multifamily or other real estate. And almost you go door to door to the owners, or you find properties that are not listed. I'll tell you, one of the first properties that I invested in as a GP was a property in Waco. And this property, how the original operator, the main operator, found this property. I said, how did you even find this place? 56 units directly across from Baylor University, older owners. This was not listed. They didn't have a broker. He hanged a banner that says for sale and had a phone number. And the main operator called them, was like, hey, is this for sale? I don't see it anywhere. And when we closed on this deal, the brokers in the area were like, where did you guys, like, how did this pop up without us knowing? Well, that was because he went driving in the area and just saw a banner, was not listed, completely off market, directly across. And then the brokers were like, wow, these guys can close this 56 unit. So then when they had a deal a block away, literally a block away for 96 units, guess who they call first?
Yep.
They called our team and was like, hey, why don't you guys, you guys took down that 56. You interested in the 96? Right. And then we kind of went away from there.
Alex, did you end up closing on that 96? Just out of curiosity?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Like
And
2 months
honestly,
later.
that's a perfect example of why you drive for dollars.
Right.
Honestly, that's a perfect example right there.
Hey, let me chime in on this. So that owner hung a for sale banner.
Yeah.
Any property that the owners put the little for rent signs in their yard, they
Yes.
literally give you their contact information when you drive by. So if you see the
100%.
for rent
Yes.
sign, stop your car and just call the number, and then, get a little bit of info, and then just be like, I'm actually an investor in town. Would you be interested in selling? And worst case scenario, you just made a friend with another local property owner that's, eventually will sell to you. So yeah, those are like the best, when they literally give you their information. You don't even have to go search for it. It's like right there on a sign for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's such a good point, Justin. Honestly, I mean, part of the thing is finding the right phone number when you're doing direct, when you're trying to do direct to seller leads, which Justin will, of course, go over in a few minutes. And that's one of the most frustrating things. Well, they're putting it on a sign for you. They're saying, please call me. I mean, they're not advertising saying, please call me, but that's what they're doing. They're saying, this is my number. I need assistance, provide value to me. So
that's it.
So again, another great off-market source is partnering with other operators and syndicators. And that's what actually most of us do when we get into a GP or an LP deal, right? If we have not found the deal ourselves, we're partnering with trusted operators and syndicators that we feel are going to do a great job. And I mean, all honesty, there's probably, I can count on one hand, probably the number of operators right now that I would do a deal with. And they're all in MIH. So it's a very, very small group. But you know what, though? You don't need a big group to do great deals with. You just need a small group of great people to do great deals with. So honestly, and how do you get into these deals? It's easy. Again, you just form relationships. Hey, here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to do the underwriting. I'm willing to go. I'm boots on the ground. I'm, going to bring some capital to the table. I'm going to do some marketing and investor relations for you. There's probably 8 or 9 things that you can do to provide value, right? So that other operators and syndicators can take you seriously and know that you're going to do the work. So if you say you're going to do something, you commit to it, then you follow through on it. Or otherwise, that reputation is going to be, not destroyed, but it'll come into question. And you don't want anyone questioning your word either, because really your word is your bond, right? If you say you're going to do something, you gotta follow through and do it, right? So, and honestly, the other reason why I love partnering with other operators and syndicators, it's not just one deal that they have. It's going to be multiple deals usually, sometimes in the present, but then in the future, right? So they have access to deals. And that's what the fun part is if you get into a really good operator who either has a team or is looking to form a team, that's really a relationship that can sustain you for a very long time in the commercial space.
This is actually my favorite part, is
Mm-hmm.
partnering with operators, right?
Yeah.
We got Justin on this call, right?
Yep.
We've got Jay on this call that we're partners with. I mean, when you say there's few people that you can name where you're like, hey, if they got a deal, you're like going to hop on it. It's that relationship that you've built with them. That's so, so huge.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we got the
Cowboy,
star
take it away.
over here. Let's do it, man.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Let's dive. And to go on your last comment too about partnering with like deal finders. It goes the other way too, right? As a deal finder, when I find something, there's a select few of folks that are getting the first call, right? And that has to do with relationships that are built and stuff like that. So if Alex has added tons of value to my life on the partnership side. So when I find a deal, it's like, okay, Alex and Helen are getting a call about the deal, whether they want it or not, they're getting
Just
a
gotta
call.
invite them to Tahoe. You're like, hey,
Exactly. Yeah.
come
Go
hang
out to
out.
Lake Tahoe with them and you're in. But I love that you guys put together this call. I actually have some ties to the healthcare, not as deep as you guys might, but when I originally went into the workforce, I was an engineer, right? I had a mechanical engineering background, super technical, and I echo the same sentiment that you guys had, right? I wasn't taught finance. I was taught this incredibly difficult mathematics, sciences, and all this stuff. Felt like I was, Superman in that regard. But then if you wanted me to like balance a budget or something, I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is. I don't know what investing is. And so I was fortunate enough to get around the right people and start, getting on the right track towards, real estate investing. And I actually left my engineering job to go do this full time. But the other part of the healthcare side is I'm happily engaged to a orthopedic surgeon resident, right? So she's in the grinded out phase right now. But I can even tell from like her education, there's no financial education in there, right? They're teaching you guys to be these world-class doctors, and whatnot, but they kind of miss the mark on, well, what happens when you ultimately do get out there and start making some money and right, and like how to invest, how to preserve this wealth, right? So for me, I left engineering and then I was like, well, that was a great salary. Like, what do I do now? And you mentioned the brokers. The brokers are great when you have relationships with them. What happens when you don't have relationships with brokers? How are you going to find deals? And that's when I started doing my off market stuff because they didn't take me serious. So I was going to go straight to those owners directly and say, trust me, like me, sell me your property. And that's kind of where this whole thing evolved about 3 years ago. And we've been able to build quite a significant portfolio over the last 3 years. Alex, you're muted, my man.
Oh yeah, you're muted.
Hey, Justin, you have control over this
Oh,
PowerPoint. You
do
can
I?
click through it.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
just gave you a remote.
This is the
you're the
fanciest-
gatekeeper here, my friend.
You guys know what's happening. Okay. All right. So do you want me to share my slides or do you
Oh
have
no,
them?
these are the next few slides is all you. So
Are
if you
you-
click
are
through
you?
my
Yep.
slide,
You're good.
yep. So if you click next, boom,
Yep.
you'll go to here.
I just did that? How do I
Yep.
do
Yeah.
that?
You just click on my screen. You're
Oh.
controlling my mouse right now, buddy.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Folks,
It's the power of
folks, you
technology.
didn't we learned something new. It's so funny you say this because the bulk of direct to seller, right, is people industry. But what gives you the competitive edge is the technology. So I'm out here learning something new about the technology right now. But this is what we've done in the last 3 years, right? Now I'd love to come back to this at the end if anybody has questions on specific deals, but right, we close deals all kinds of ways off market. But the cool thing is that a lot of times you're dealing directly with the owners and you're building relationships with them. You get to hear their stories. They've owned it for 20 years. And right, for instance, this one in the top right here, this was 2 years of consistent follow-up. 2 years. A lot of folks would be like, I'm not going to talk to somebody for that long. But the result is unbelievable. We got this thing for 35% less than what it appraised for. And that was day one, right? And we've already, implemented renovations and we're boosting rents and stuff. So it'll be worth significantly more as well. And so it's little things like that. Here's a deal that Alex is actually in with us where we assumed the existing debt because we had the relationship to do that, right? We knew the property manager. This wasn't us talking to the owner directly. We knew the property manager. He's in MIH as well. He goes, hey, I think this guy might sell if we got him a good price. And hey, he's got a 3.64 interest rate. Would you guys want to, look at this? And I'm like, you bet we want to look at that. That's a great interest rate. Fixed for another 8 years, right? And we were able to facilitate this with zero competition, right? It's just like Alex was mentioning when that 56 unit where the guy just had a billboard up on his, and the brokers didn't know about it. Well, when everybody knows about it, it generates competition and that drives the price up. The beautiful thing here is most of these deals were done with literally no competition involved at all. And so therefore, you're really working the terms out that's going to fit the need of the owner, right? And you don't have to worry about this whole, negotiation game and having to, keep stuff to yourself and, play that. It's literally everybody puts their cards out on the table and we get a deal done. So we can come back to it at the end. Just to echo what Eric was talking about, on market is awesome because you just log in, anybody can log in and find deals. But 2023, I don't think I know a single investor that found something here to buy because interest rates went up. Connor might have, and I'm actually gonna touch on this, unless you were creative in how you viewed these deals, right? If they're sitting on there for a while, it means they're hairy, or somebody hasn't realized the value that can be achieved there. And a lot of times, if you can use the listing to then go talk to the owner and be like, hey, it's been up here for multiple months. What about creative financing? What about owner financing or something like that? Maybe you be the bank because interest rates shot up on us. Maybe you be the bank, and that's the way to get these done right now in today's market, right? Some creative that nobody saw because it sat there on the market for a while. Now, off market, that's my specialty. This is where we make a lot of money, but we have to put in a lot of effort as a result. And direct to seller I love that. You get to talk to the owners. But let's not forget about the brokers, folks. They're doing this every single day. And what happens is similar to the 56 unit that Alex was talking about, right? They bought a deal and then it gave them credibility to then get deal flow much easier from the brokers, right? And those brokers are going to send them this 96 next door and not blast it out to everyone because they know that they can close the deal. And that's what everybody cares about. It's like, am I going to get my money on this deal? Yes or no? I know Alex can close the deal. He just did it next door. So I'm going to send it to him and I don't have to spend the time to market this, to take 150 phone calls in a week and kind of filter through a bunch of garbage buyers that are just trying to get information, right? So that's what I've realized in my own investments is that when I first got started, guys, I was in the boat where I called up a broker and they're like, who the heck are you, Justin? You don't have a job, right? You just quit your engineering job. You don't have a job. You're 26 years old, right? Who are you? Like, you're a nobody. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. But I really want to buy that. I really want to buy that first deal. So I got added to my mentor's websites. And the exchange was, hey, I get to leverage your credibility. I get added as under my team, right? The team of their company they've already built. And the exchange is the value I'll provide. If I find a deal, we're doing a deal together, right? And they're like, who's not going to say no to that? Everyone's going to be like, sure, yeah, go find me some deals and I'll add you to my website. So that was how I kind of hacked the credibility at first with brokers. But the cool thing with those is the more off-market deals you buy, the more credibility you build up, and then you can actually open up your funnel to start allowing more brokers will send you legitimate deals, right? Not just the ones that they tried with their core group. All their core investors said no, and then they're like, all right, now I'm going to send it to Justin and see if he'll buy it. They'll actually send you the good ones. Drive for Dollars is awesome. Call every for rent sign that you see and call, and you can actually, if you guys want to write down a website, if you drive by a property that you like, I do this every time. I have Google Maps and I like star it on Google Maps because I'm going through my day, right? You don't want to like pause your day to just be like, all right, I got to figure out who owns this. Going through my day, I'll just start, right? And I'll come back later that day, and then I'll just go on the county website and you can see who owns properties, right? Just look up the address on the county website and it might say somebody's name. Well, that's great, but like I can't like I gotta know who this is, how to contact them. And then if you guys look up fastpeoplesearch.com, you can literally find people's information right now. Like if you want to put in Justin Wozniak or Orlando on fastpeoplesearch.com, you could get my phone number. I can put in the chat, or you can go find it right now. Or you can look at any properties that we've bought. And this is something that I did initially, where if you drive by a property and you're like, I want to buy that. I want to buy that. Look it up. Give them a call. There's nothing stopping you. It's going to be about 5 minutes of your day to do it. And the chances are your enthusiasm driving by will reflect in your conversation when you talk to them.
Hey,
Right?
Justin,
Like, I
you know,
just drove by. There it is.
on the website that you mentioned, they also mention like relatives' names. You ever have to call a relative to
Yep.
try to get to the owner?
Oh yeah. You always structure it in a way of like you're trying to figure out who owns it, right? And then a lot of times when I was doing this for upfront from some of the smaller stuff originally, was the relatives would be like, oh no, I'm not Danny. Danny's my husband. Here's his number. And then they give you their phone number and you'd be like, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and give Danny a call now, right? So the relatives are a great source of getting the phone numbers as well, but just make sure you're focused on like you're coming across as a relationship building person and not just someone that's out here trying to get people's phone numbers, because everybody's guards up when you get phone calls, especially nowadays.
So what's that initial give us a little tip here. That initial script, initial 5 seconds. What's that initial 5 seconds sounds like?
Yeah, the initial 5 seconds is very important, right? Because we like to just kind of be like, hey, we're introduce ourselves like very quick, like just get to the point. Hey, Alex, I'm Justin. I'm with Commercial Asset Solutions in town. We're local investment team. Local every time. You got to say local. If you say I'm a national brand, that might work if you're talking to a broker. If you're talking to people, you need to be as small as possible. Okay. I'm a local investment team. We just drove by the property on Court Street. Are you the owner? I thought it's had you listed as the owner, or do you know who the owner is and stuff like that? We love it. We just, we have some money that we're trying to invest and we love it. Could you connect us with the owner, or are you the owner? And then just dive into it. And a lot of times they'll just be like, oh no, my husband manages everything. Or they'll be like, the 2-year follow-up, the wife had the full control. So if we called the husband, he didn't know anything that was happening at that property, but the wife knew everything that was happening. She was the decision maker for it. Right. So it's just getting a hold of the right folks. But yeah, always start with local and always start with who you are. And during the conversation, if you can focus on less on buying the property and more on developing a relationship with the person, that's important, right? So if you can get them on the phone for 5 minutes talking about their kids and their their hobbies, golf or whatever it may be, that's 100 times more effective than trying to ask them what's the unit mix and
and just piggybacking on what Justin said. Justin and I are working on a deal here in Michigan, and sometimes when you call these people, they're like, oh, this is the first time that anybody's ever approached me about selling the building. So you have to be prepared for that too, that maybe nobody's ever asked them that, right? So again, it's all about building the relationship. Sometimes they have an overly inflated opinion about what their building is worth based on numbers, but that's okay. But honestly, one of the guys that I've developed a relationship with, he's 85 years old and he's literally like my grandpa. Like I just call him or text him because I want to make sure that he's doing okay health-wise, because it kind of worries me that he's always sick. Now, are we going to get this deal done? Probably not. Let's be real, because this situation is very crazy. So He owns 2/3 of a 15-unit building here in Metro Detroit. His son owns 1/3, and it was his wife's dying wish for his son to have 1/3 of the building. So that's what he did. So he wants to sell. He will not sell the building because his son does not want him to sell the building, even though he is not the majority owner of the building. So the sale isn't going to happen because the son does not want to sell the building. Keep in mind, the son is on disability and does not work either. So Justin and I have been scrambling our brains for the past 6 months, offering him again what he wants on his terms and to potentially, obviously, complete a sale of the building. But the son just won't entertain anything for whatever reason.
The annoying thing is he won't meet with us because you get Eric.
son
If you
won't.
get Eric in front of anybody, he's gonna charm them. They're
Sold.
gonna want the son's gonna want to sell as soon as he gets a hold of Eric, but he just won't agree to that meeting. And I'm like, come on, we got to get Eric in front of this guy.
So honestly, like in just full disclosure on this, I have met with the daughter and she was very good. But again, as Justin said, she was not the key decision maker in this whole thing, right? It's really the son and then obviously the seller, right? His dad. So again, it's not good or bad, but again, there's always little twists and turns, and you learn more and more things the more you talk to the same person, right? You find out a little bit more, you find out this, you find out that. Honestly, I can talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. I love talking to people. That's not the big deal. I'll call you and I might not even know you. Hey, we might develop a friendship on the phone or not, whatever. It's completely fine. But, at the end of the day, there has to be some give from the seller as well, right? Or otherwise, they got to meet you a little bit, or otherwise it's not going to get done, despite your best efforts.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to do positive energy on that. We're going to get that thing done one way or another. But
do you feel like you haven't found out like their main motivation or their main why?
It's a great question, Alex. Great question. And I find out new pieces to the story each time. And I think I found out all the pieces to the story. But then again, of course, there's always maybe a new piece, I didn't even know at the start of this, to be perfectly honest, since we're talking about this case study, I didn't even know that the son was even involved in the ownership of the property. I thought it was him, the seller, the 2/3 seller that owned all of it. So through conversations, I found out that, and he also owns other commercial buildings. Again, haven't found out the structure of the ownership with that yet, but it's just constant keeping in touch, talking, we've met for breakfast before, that kind of thing. So
very important what he said there, constant follow-up with an individual. And so to kind of dive into more of the off-market specific stuff, the constant follow-up is probably the most important part of direct to seller, and even direct to broker and the other man, and if you're going through wholesalers and stuff, is constantly letting them know you exist, you're out here, you're looking for properties. And if you think about it, especially healthcare workers, your day-to-days are so busy all the time. You got a million things to think about. So let's say Eric owned a building and he's kind of considering selling it. He's going to be busy for 90% of his week. And then every now and then he might come up for breath and be like, oh, let's think about selling it. If you're not constantly following up with Eric, somebody else could just swoop in after you've built an awesome relationship with him, and they could swoop in just timing wise on when he's really willing to sell. And I've personally done that, where I've come in on deals where I was snowboarding trip and I was getting on a flight to come home, and the guy called me up and he said, hey, we liked your offer and everything, but I was literally on my way to my CPA to go, talk it over and sign the offer. And you know what happened? I told one of my other clients in a different business, and he said, hey, I could pay you more than that. So we're going to go with that guy. Right. And I'm like boarding my flight. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, where did this come out of nowhere? And I said, all right, hold up. I'm about to send you the best offer I can. Do not accept. If you have not written acceptance, do not accept it. I will send you something that allows you to go to them and say, Justin offered me so much money that it's in my family's financial interest to accept this deal. Right. I get off my flight and we have a signed offer. Right. So it was like this awesome experience. But you got to understand that I would pay 30% less if I had a better relationship with that person. So I came in last minute.
I know, I saw
He
that.
walks with a pigeon though. You can tell.
Yeah, both my little sisters
Can you guys
were
mute?
born with,
Done.
Thank you. So if I had an established relationship with that, I would have had it for 30% more, but I didn't. So I had to throw extra money to get a deal done. Now we've done it the other way, where having the relationship like Eric is with this gentleman. If he does eventually sell this deal, it's going to be to Eric, right? There is no one else in his contact that has a deeper relationship and cares more about the guy than Eric does. And all he's been doing is what? Every week sending him a text or shooting him with a call?
Yeah, either a call or a text, just, because he's older, so he's had more health concerns over the past, 6 to 8 months. And honestly, like, I treat him like I would treat my grandpa. I don't have any grandpas alive anymore, but I treat him like I would treat my grandpa.
All right, Eric, now you got to go pick up his meds.
Yeah.
I actually, no joke, Alex, it wasn't meds, but I said, like, I thought that it was like, he would be visiting a place further beyond earthly, earthly space for a while there, because he was in and out of the hospital. I'm like, do you want me to bring you over chicken soup? Do you want me to, like, what do you want me to do? I feel like I need to help you. But that's all because of the healthcare, right? Like, we're trained to help people every day. It's you never get a day off from helping people. It's constant. It's always there.
Love that. All right, I'm gonna rip through this last little pros and cons, guys, because it's like a lot of us, we've probably touched on all the pros and cons, and some of this will make sense to folks. If it doesn't, reach out to me afterwards. But we can use kind of the last, I think it'd probably be best the last stuff. Let's talk war stories, because I think that relates a lot with folks. Is like, we'll go over I can show you guys actual stuff that I've done, why the deal ended up working. But kind of the big pros and cons, I mentioned it with off market, guys, is you eliminate competition, which leads to discounts, because you're not having to do your best offer because there's no one involved, right? That one deal I just talked about, if there was nobody else involved, 30% less, right? That's just the nature of the beast. The deal is still awesome. We're about to refinance. It's my biggest, it's a big cash cow for us, but that's a huge pro. And then the other thing, and Connor's seen it, and multiple other folks in this group, I've seen it, is when you have those relationships off market, you can pivot towards a creative financing situation to solve their problem. And this allows you, doesn't matter how high interest rates are, doesn't matter how crazy the real estate market is, you can one-on-one work out a deal that works for both parties with them. And, they could be the bank, or you can do other sort of creative financing stuff to get a deal done. So that's super important. If you wanted to summarize DTS real quick, easy as 1, 2, 3. Think of it like a car. You got a list of properties, that's your fuel. You got a car, which is leverage technology, a system that's in place to track and manage those leads. And then lastly is the driver of that vehicle. That's you and your team, and how good you are at being consistent and how good you are at building relationships. Right? That's what we teach to our community. That's what we help out with. Direct to sell, this is where, like, I'm diving deeper and deeper, guys. You realize it gets a little bit harder. It's like, all right, well, how do I market to these owners? There's so many different options. You can call them, you can text them, you can email them, you can send them direct mail. All of them work. You just got to commit to them and be consistent and continuously, follow up with folks. We utilize calling and texting a lot. I brought in a VA to help with my time management for that. We've started doing email marketing as well. It helps with the more sophisticated folks that a lot of them check their emails every single day, especially working professionals. They'll check their emails every single day. Get in that email inbox and you got a chance of closing deals. And then really, like a lot of folks, you're just like, where do I start? We've built out a community to help folks. We have them in here. A few of the guys in here that have used it. If you are interested in learning how to find, contact, close deals yourself, and you don't want to have to set everything up, go to the website, No Stress DTS. You can schedule a call with me. Doesn't matter if you're going to go through with it or not. Still schedule a call with me. I want to get folks going in the right direction off market, because it is a lot of upfront work. But you guys saw it at the end where we've closed tons of deals in the last 3 years, made a bunch of money building generational wealth, and that's because of the off market deals. So I'm very adamant about other folks doing off market. I want them to succeed. So you can do that, and then just know it's on the website, but no stress DTS, we're actually discounting stuff a bunch. And so any folks in here, if you're interested, I will open up an extra spot for you for coming out here 9 a.m. or 6 a.m. Pacific time to be on a call and level up. So,
and honestly, having used Justin's system, truly, it's really a great system. But just like any system, you have to put the work and the time in to use the system appropriately to get the results that you want. So, and that's with any kind of coaching program or system. So,
yep, free 15-minute call, guys. So the worst case scenario is you got a bunch of free value. I don't care if you sign up or don't sign up. We'll open slots for folks that are interested because I want to see more level up. But at the end of the day, guys, you can find deals at massive discounts. And if you were going on market last year, you probably didn't buy a deal unless it was some sort of creative financing. That we're seeing the same thing. The rates did not come down at March's meetup with the feds. So we're in the same issues we were at end of last year, where transactions are harder to pencil unless you're doing some sort of off-market deal, working directly with the owners or using a broker to help you work directly with the owners.
And Justin, once more, what's the best way for people? Is it no stress DTS? Is that
no stress DTS? I tried to make the name real easy for folks. No stress DTS, no stress direct to seller.
You guys remember that?
There it is right there.
Yep. Justin is definitely a go-giver here. So, well, thank you everyone for who's hopped on. That's all the information that we have today. We do have the next call next month where we dive deep into the properties that we have purchased, owned, and work with. So now we want to open this up. We got a lot of folks in here today. Are there any questions that you guys have for any of us, or especially Justin? You got another 8 minutes of his time. Philip, you're the first one to raise your hand. Let's go, brother.
Hey, it's great to see everyone here. I'm really excited to finally get on one of these calls. Justin, thanks so much. I actually had a chance to talk to Justin this week about the DTS system.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is Justin is very transparent. He will tell you what the best thing to do is. He gave me some advice based on what my situation was. And it didn't initially involve going direct to seller with his system because of what I had started. And I think that says a lot about Justin when he recognizes there's always more than one way to skin a cat. But even with that in mind, I think that the focus of this group and working together, and one of the reasons why I raised my hand was I probably will come back to the circle one way or the other, whether it's based on the system, but it's going to be mostly because of the people. And what I'm just thinking out loud is, as this group gets stronger and stronger and we bring these things to each other, it sounds like, maybe we should be doing this together. Like we're stronger, the synergistic effect of all of us putting our parts together, like Alex said earlier about what we each can bring in terms of value to a deal. I think in a direct to seller situation, something I'm not that familiar with doing because, as you guys all know, I'm north of the border. I have not crossed into the US directly buying real estate because of a couple of things I'm working on to make sure that I don't get jammed by the Canadian tax authorities. But with that said, my goal is really to try to partner up with the great people in this group, bring what I can to the table. But in terms of what we're talking about, I would love it if anyone thinks that this is something we should do together. Like, should we all jump, or many of us in little teams jump on and say, if the idea is to go direct to seller, what part of that can I do? What part can someone else do? And of course, using Justin's capabilities to manage all that, I'm wondering if people here are thinking, okay, maybe, it's an investment of not just money, but time. And how can we split that up into pieces that makes everyone's time that much more useful, especially when you've got tools like this?
Philip, I'm smiling because it's like that's exactly what we've done And like Eric and I are partners right now in the Michigan market for the simple reason of like, I wanted to find deals in Michigan. Eric lives in Michigan right there and was like, well, what are we doing? We're not going to compete against each other. It's a horrible idea. Let's work together, right? And
Exactly.
I think that's the cool thing. And even if you bring Alex into the equation as well, it's like Alex was like, I'm interested in investing in the Midwest for the cash flow reasons. And I'm like,
Right.
hey, I'm in the Midwest. Let's do deals together, right? And then now, I can almost be a deal source for Alex as he grows his, his portfolio and stuff like that. So you're right, Philip. It's always, if you find a market that you're interested in, there's a good chance other folks in the group are interested in. Get on a call with them and figure out what are the synergies, because like I said, competition drives up the price. So if you're both doing off market and finding the same deal and competing against each other for that deal, that's ridiculous. Get on a call, become friends, become partners, and then
Right.
get the deal together.
I mean, there's thousands of other people who are not on this call who we're competing against. So the fact is, we can create something that allows us to go up
Yeah.
against that kind of competition. That's an edge.
And let me talk to that, the edge, right? This is important. You mentioned something, right? So when I said what DTS is, it's a list of properties, right? Your fuel, your car is the vehicle is like your system that you have in place, and then you're the driver, right? Your relationship building. Technically, this fuel, right? These lists of properties are database driven, that every single one of us has access to that. So we don't have a competitive edge at all based off of where we're getting the leads from. Now, where do you have your competitive edge? How consistent you are. So your system and your technology helping you be consistent in the marketplace. And then how good you are at building relationships. Are you a good person? Do you care about the person that you're talking to? Like Eric mentioned, where he's like actually genuinely cares about this person. And can you convey that to folks? That's where your edge comes from. So a lot of people get stuck trying to find these diamonds in the rough deals of like where to find the list of properties, where to do this, where to do that. At the end of the day, go out there, go get a list of properties from anywhere, and then leverage the other two aspects, your consistency and your relationship building, to build that edge in your marketplace.
That's great advice.
Yeah, I'm very adamant about that fact, because a lot of people just stop on off-market deal finding because they don't know where to like go find a list, or there's so many different sources of where to get this list. And I'm like, just go pick somewhere and get into it, like dive into it and start doing it.
Thank you,
Very
Justin.
cool.
Sapphire, you have a question?
Yes. Thank you, Alex, Eric, and Justin, for this call. Thank you for the value. My question, and good morning, everyone. My question is to Justin: how do you organize the information you collect? Because I currently use DTS for single family leads with foreclosure leads, and I use REI Reply as my CRM. But I was just curious, how do you organize the information for like multifamily?
Yep,
Leads.
you said it there in your question, right? The organization comes from whatever CRM that you're using. And for folks that don't know what a CRM is, it's pretty much a sales tool to organize, track leads, contacts, deals, whatever it is. And that's how you leverage technology. And so for us, we're not using that CRM, we're using a CRM that's connected to a calling and texting platform. And we get our leads from whatever list source out there. I like to use CoStar for pulling lists of properties for multifamily. I've just found that's one of the best databases out there, because there's not a ton of multifamily databases. Single family, you're good. You can pull those from a million different spots. So then we take that and we essentially kind of get it into the system, and we start marketing to those owners, tracking them, keeping notes, setting follow-ups, changing the lead status based off of the conversation. And that's kind of how you're able to, really, I'm able to use technology to help me organize. We probably have 5,000, I think, leads in our system right now.
Wow.
I'm a busy person all day long, but we can still manage that amount of leads just because we're leveraging technology to kind of help on the consistency and the relationship building.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Of course.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you guys so much for hopping on the call. Want to be really, really respectful of everyone's time and Justin's time. Hope you guys took a lot of notes, dropping bombs over here. And for those of you who are going to be in Indy and Cincinnati, can't wait to see all of you. And yeah, super, super excited to hang out.
Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. You always drop great nuggets and great value, and we appreciate you.
Yes, Eric, Alex, love you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.